Well, kia ora, Shore Vineyard, and welcome to church today. It's not church as we would normally do it at Forest Hill Road, because we're in lockdown, aren't we? We're in the ongoing battle against COVID. But I'm delighted to be here today. My name's Vic Francis and I pastor the Shore Vineyard Church. Delighted to be here with you if you're here on the North Shore, if you're in Auckland, somewhere else. If you're somewhere else on Aotearoa, or indeed around the world, which is one of the beauties of what we're doing today, you're welcome. Please consider yourself part of our family, part of our whānau for today. And so I'm so pleased to be bringing you the latest installment of our Pilgrim series for the year. Our theme for the year is Pilgrims Journeying into the Wild. And today I'm bringing you the fourth of four messages that we've called Packing Our Bags, sort of an introduction to pilgrimage and the invitation of God for us for the year. And we're doing this via a means, while we're in any form of lockdown, that we're calling kai, korero and karakia. So kai means food, so I'm sure today we'll be gathering at some stage, and hopefully now, around food. It's a wonderful thing in terms of community, isn't it? Korero means conversation, essentially, and so we're wanting to provide, and at the end of this message there will be some questions that you can have great, hopefully, faith conversations around. And then, of course, karakia, which is prayer, and so we do hope that you'll take an opportunity to pray for each other, any needs, and that together we will be able to create this wonderful opportunity today to connect with God. So this week, as I've thought of my message today, I was taken back to 2016 when I went on a Saturday retreat that was called Behold. It focused on the story in Exodus chapter 3 when Moses encounters God in a new way in the burning bush. So some of you will know that story well. And anyway, the director of the retreat in the afternoon, when we had some time just to spend with God, suggested that we go out, and one of the tools that we were given was to write a haiku. A haiku is a Japanese poem of 17 syllables, so 5 syllables in one line, 7 syllables in the next line, 5 syllables in the last line. And I wrote this, which is unusual for me to write a haiku. I'm probably the only one in my adult life, and I was reminded of it this week and want to share it with you today. So I wrote this: Behold, a new life beckons me on another side of the same mountain. Behold, a new life beckons me on another side of the same mountain. And I thought it was relevant to us today as I talk about what I'm going to call the inner journey, or the interior pilgrimage, if you like. I talked in that first week about actually going to Spain and doing a pilgrim walk in 2017. That's an external thing, which is a wonderful thing. It was very powerful and moving. But what about that inner journey, the pilgrimage of the heart? One of the things I notice about Jesus a lot is that he leaves just the intensity and the wonder of kingdom activity and ministry to go and spend time with the Father. So in Luke chapter 5, one of at least half a dozen occurrences, Jesus, a person with leprosy comes to him and says, Jesus, if you will it, you can heal me. And Jesus says, I do, and he heals him. And then Jesus sends him away and says, kind of present yourself to the authorities and, have your healing verified, don't talk about it. And then in verse 15, it says, yet the news of him spread all the more, so that the crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. In verse 16, but Jesus often withdrew to a lonely place and prayed. And I think I see in there Jesus' own pilgrimage of the heart, an inner journey that we see throughout Scripture and throughout church history, and which I think God would invite us to this week, this month, this year, in fact, for our lifetime. When I did my master's studies about 10 or 12 years ago, the book that I found the hardest to read, the hardest to grasp, and the hardest to, embrace was by a 16th century Catholic nun called Teresa of Avila. And she wrote a book called The Interior Castle, which basically talks about Jesus taking up residence in our heart and the journey that God takes us on to discover him or get to know him better through 7 stages. And it's a wonderful book, but it really did my head in at the time. And so although I resisted it at the time, it's been the book over the years that I've probably quoted the most and referred back to the most. This journey, this interior journey to Jesus, who is waiting for us to meet him and know him. I guess in more sort of achievable modern day sense, It might be that cliche of enjoying the journey, not just the destination, or of learning to be in the environment and not just do. I think that's really helpful in our kind of driven society that we have, and our need to achieve and to actually have evidence of the value of our day or our week. You know, Jesus is working with us on our interior, and it's less about what we achieve and more about how we are. I'm very much a doer. If you know Myers-Briggs, it doesn't matter if you don't. If you know Myers-Briggs, I'm a J. If you know Enneagram, I'm a 1, a reformer. If you know StrengthsFinder, my 2 top strengths are responsibility and achiever. I'm a very left-brain person, you know, that's the logical thing. And yet as I reflect back on my last 10 years as a pilgrim, and that would be my reflection, I've been a pilgrim for 10 years and a believer for 40, I would have to say I have been most drawn forward in my faith by things that lie outside those parameters. So things for me like retreats, like solitude, silence and stillness, like exploring my dreams, like reading the scriptures not just for information but for inspiration. And every now and then God does something amazing, like gets me to write a haiku, and it's quite life-changing. It's a wonderful thing. Doing this can create fears. You know, kind of going inwards can create something inside us. The terrain is less certain. You're less in control when you have an interior pilgrimage than you are on an exterior one. There are fewer measurables of success. An inner journey invites us, and importantly God, to look at areas of our lives that only really we know about, or maybe we don't even admit to ourselves, and which, to be honest, we may prefer not to expose. I wonder if, though, the gentle and loving invitation of God is towards that. For me, the revelation of the haiku has been important on this journey. To realize that it's the same mountain beckoning me to another side of the same mountain. The mountain, if you like, the cause of my faith, or the foundations that I build my life, or Jesus, or however I want to express that, has given me a sense of freedom, of not going the same old worn path, but exploring another side, a new side of the same mountain. And so I've become a pilgrim of the interior as well as the exterior. And in that I've discovered richness and depth, which I'm just delighted about. It's a journey I think Jesus undertook. And it's one I believe that God would invite us this year as believers, as part of Shore Vineyard, to also undertake. I do hope that you will do so with me and we can do that together. And so together we may have a haiku that reads not on beckons me, but beckons us. So a new life, behold, a new life beckons us on another side of the same mountain. And so to start the process, or probably more so to continue and recognize the process that God will have already begun, I'm going to give you some ideas and some questions that you could ponder around even today. If you're on your own, you can do it yourself, you can journal or whatever. If you're together, you can have a good old conversation around it. But here are the questions, and they'll come up on the screen at the end, so you don't need to scribble them down in a hurry. So what are the invitations and the hesitations for you as you contemplate an inner journey? What draws you, and yet what makes you wary? Second question, what experiences have you had already of God working on your interior self? I suspect if you look, you'll find some things. They might be the ones to kick off from. Thirdly, how do you feel about the possibility of exploring a different side of the same mountain of your life? And fourthly, this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but may just be worthwhile giving it a try. Do you want to go out somewhere today or tomorrow and write a haiku, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, about God's invitation for you to the inner journey? God bless you, Shore Vineyard. It's been my pleasure to be with you here today. I do trust that we'll be back together next week, but if we're not, we'll be here on screen. Otherwise, come and join us at 252 Forest Hill Road as we begin our Easter series. Kia kaha, God bless you, and we'll see you soon.